Ankalaev came out. He's kind of got a new take on life, by the way. Like, there's a question when fights are over, whose stock went up more? And I love the question because I think it's a very fair question. It doesn't just come down to who won. For example, the performance of the night on Saturday was Khalil Rountree. When you talk about who within their abilities rise to an occasion, performed and even overperformed, the answer was Khalil Rountree. But you can't get anywhere with that. People simply say, but Chael, he lost. They look at the guy that beat Khalil Rountree in Europe Prohaska, and they say he is the number one contender. He should be fighting for the world championship. They're not totally wrong. That's just not quite the way the story played out. I mean, for example, they had 2 completed rounds of a contest only scheduled for 3. 100% of those rounds, even if that means 2, were won by Khalil Rountree. By 100% of the judges, even if that means 3. So you have Prohaska, who's being praised, who's being interviewed, who's being discussed for a world title fight, who just lost 2 rounds of a 3-round contest. Now, that's the way the game is played. I'm just suggesting for you that every now and then you got to just look a little bit deeper. And when you do talk about whose stock went up, Ankalaev was never given a completely fair shake by the media and by the fans. And I was in the building, man. I watched them boo him at the weigh-ins. Prior to that, at the press conference, on the walkout, they were booing like they despised this guy. But the reality was it was nothing personal with Ankalaev. The fans just really were behind Pereira. So whatever guy you cheer, by default, you boo the opponent. I don't know that those things affect you. I don't know. I don't know Ankalaev to know if that would hurt his feelings. But I have seen guys that have risen to an occasion because the audience has been behind them. I've seen things happen where a chant begins, by example, and the guy does look like he got a little bit stronger because of it. So when I talk about Ankalaev, he was hated going into this fight, but I don't think that it was him. I think it's the other guy that was praised. And then you come out this end, Ankalaev has absolutely no excuse. That's refreshing to me. I don't like it either side. I don't like it when the guy gets beat, comes out with the excuse. You guys want to know what I really hate? When the guy that wins comes out with the excuse. When the guy that wins is, I didn't even know if I was going to go into this fight. I sure was hurt. The guy is just attempting to share and be open with you, but that's not how it comes across. To me, it comes across as a very underhanded, unsportsmanlike thing to do, which is to say, I won, but I could win by even more. I looked great, but believe me, I'm even greater. That's how I hear it. I would just prefer not to know. But it's a common part in our industry. It is something that will never go away. Like, you will always have an audience that is willing to listen if you want to tell them that you were compromised before battle. It doesn't matter if you signed under penalty of perjury a form the day before with the government, the only sport in the world that is overseen by government is ours, and guys sign that I have no hidden injury. That does not matter. None of it matters. All that matters is that you come out and you make the claim. There will always be an audience for that. And I'm just sharing for you, Ankalaev didn't do it. I want to help Ankalaev. I want to be helpful towards Ankalaev. I don't know how. He's in a very strange spot. He's in a spot where perception looks as though he doesn't have supporters. That's false. He's in a spot where perception is that he's not that great. That's false. Nobody actually believes that. There was just such a large biasness towards Pereira that the default fell onto Ankalaev. But let me lay this out from his standpoint. All right, guys, 3 days ago, Ankalaev's the champion of the world. 3 days ago, he's pretty similar to Islam in that the one and only loss that he had, which, by the way, was by finish, was of a fight that he was dominating and nobody really counts. They chalked it up to he got caught. He's the champion of the world, and we're trying to figure out what are we going to do with him. If he gets over on Pereira in a rematch that nobody asked for, I mean, nobody was saying we got to get Ankalaev and Pierre back in there again. Like, that just wasn't happening. Ankalaev comes out with the short end of the stick, a talking point from a fairness perspective. Now, we don't do anything over here because of fairness, but we do talk about it sometimes. You would instantly default to a narrative of trilogy fight. If Ankalaev, right, 3 days ago, Ankalaev's the champion of the world. If things are to not go his way, there would be a discussion of a part 3. As opposed to that discussion, much more likely to happen, which is not my prediction for you, much more likely to happen is Prochazka would get the opportunity. Between who's going to get the shot, Prochazka would beat out Ankalaev. Prochazka's lost twice to Pierre. Ankalaev has beaten Pierre. So, okay, we understand. We understand the position that we're in. But let me ask you a more complex one. What would Ankalaev have to do to return to Pierre? If you go look at the rankings and you look at everybody that's there and you quickly realize, oh geez, he's fought them all and he's beat them all. How do we get them in front of him? Oh, by the way, who's more likely to beat Pierre? Well, he's already beaten Pierre. None of the rest of them beat Pierre. He's already beat Pierre. Do you see where everything points to Ankalaev? All the signals and all the lights are going to Ankalaev, but we also understand that isn't going to happen. So what does? What happens in the event? And you're fine to tell me I don't want to see Pierre versus Ankalaev part 3. Like, I'm not going to tell you, yes, you do. I know that you don't. You didn't want to see part 1. You didn't want to see part 2. We did everything we could do to avoid part 1. We took them both in every direction till we were out and just had to do the fight. Largely the same thing happened with part 2, which is, look, we get what you did, Ankalaev, but we're calling your bluff. We got to see it again. We got to see it a second time to accept it, which Ankalaev understood and went and did. But how far are we willing to punish this guy? That's what I'm asking. Let's just get it out now. If Pierre is to leave the division, which is being discussed, if Pierre is to walk away from 205 pounds, so now it's not a matter of a number 1 contender, you get 2. You get 2 brand new fresh faces to go and fight for a vacated belt. How bad are we willing to screw Ankalaev? Are we willing to say that he's not part of either of those 2 guys? Okay, if he's not, what does he have to do? Who does he have to beat? And again, if you go and stare at the rankings and you see who's there, you're going to find that he already did it. Now, I'm not against whatever it is that the plan and ideas of the community. I'm just asking you, how badly are we willing to screw Ankalaev? How badly are we willing to act as though he doesn't have a win over Alex Pereira? How far are we willing to go to make believe that 3 days ago Ankalaev was not the champion of the world? How far are we willing to go to not have to admit that Pereira is not having this grand and glorious moment without Ankalaev's participation in it? Tell me that. Tell me how far as an industry we're willing to ignore the successes of Ankalaev.